So this is just stuff that's going on in regions. Some good, some bad.
That's literally everything that happens in the world.
Yeah, but it's not like military. It's not conflict. It's just stuff that's happening. It's not like specific, and it's not like super depressing. Probably. King Charles expresses love for strong and free Canada. Yeah, so the king visited, and I would like to point out that had the king been invited to visit last year, everybody would have been like, "Why the fuck is the king here?" This time, everybody's like, "Oh yay, the king is here." Basically, Canada and its people in general have been kind of long side-eyeing the UK, particularly after Starmer went and showed up at the White House after the Zelensky debacle and was sort of capitulating to Trump a little bit and handed him a letter that he obviously was incapable of reading. That was the king inviting him back to talk to him for a second visit, which is like nobody has ever done before. Is that like nobody's gotten a second visit with a crown? And so Canada was like, they're threatening to annex us. Are you about to fucking side with America right now? Because, brother, are you serious? Like, we were not too keen on that one. So the king showed up to sort of ease those tensions a little bit and clearly spit in Trump's face a little bit, as well as show kind of like it's a matter of show of solidarity. It doesn't really mean anything outside that, though.
I believe I'm the only one in this panel who's had the privilege of saying the word fuck within few inches of that big ear's face.
Really?
I'm proud of it.
Damn!
Yes, I have cussed that particular person to his face. Why? Because I was on the far end of the pier waiting for the momentary shot in Sydney at the harbor, looking over the humping of armadillos. That's called the Opera House. And this idiot comes right in front of my camera. I have a 700 millimeter telephoto lens, thinking I'm there to take a picture of him, stands there, ruins the shot, and drop and say, fuck. And realize it's him. And I gesture saying, get out of the way, because if he had got out of the way, I might have gotten the shot, but no, that idiot there.
You didn't have a video of that? Come on!
And I have had more drinks in bars in Scotland saying, this is the dude that swore in his face.
I would like to see. Please tell me you developed a picture with him in it and just wrote the word fuck on it.
He's so bereft of a historical thing to understand that he represents a institution that is just outdated. Ridiculous, right? The to be appointed by God to rule and being proud of people like Henry VIII and other wackos and this stuff.
Henry VIII.
If he had any decency, he'd resign as monarch, saying, "This is a stupid institution. Let's stop doing this."
Yeah. But no, he's also like
the thing is that he is known to I can believe what Landon has said, because he's known to be very, very self-absorbed. That everybody around him is there for him. That's it. He's so self-absorbed. Yes.
Well, so to be clear, he was there to try to ease tensions between the UK and the Canadian people. Most Canadians are indifferent to the crown. Like, we don't particularly care. We think it's goofy for the most part. You're gonna find a handful of Canadians who follow the royal family and are into it, but they're into it the same way like the true crime people are into murder. You know what I mean? It's drama, right? Like, that's the sort of what they're into. There's not a whole ton of reverence. Most people don't really care. But it was a matter of like just showing solidarity. It's an interesting political move and people have applauded Carney for it, because Trump's really into the whole king thing, and having an actual king show up and like kind of compare America to what happened in World War II was a little bit of a slap in the face.
And moreover, the White House put out requests to the Murdoch media to not cover the King's speech, because they said it was going to be disrespectful to making America great again. Yeah,
well, too bad. Thailand is apparently going to shut its border with Cambodia amid boycott tensions. Thailand is set to close 6 border checkpoints and 10 temporary crossings with Cambodia, including I don't know how to pronounce any of those things.
Boycott
Amid
and
Cambodia.
tabloid.
Go on.
You go on. Sorry, my bad.
Amid Cambodian nationalist backlash and boycott calls. Report from security agencies on Saturday, May 31st, 2025, stated that after a clash between Thai and Cambodian troops near Chombok, I don't know, province on May 28th, resulted in the deaths of a Cambodian soldier and...
Why don't you ask Dapper, who's not a linguist, to pronounce it for you?
Dapper doesn't speak Khmer or Thai. So, like, I don't know.
None of us know how to pronounce
Laotian,
half these things. I'm doing my best. In response to a wave...
speak any Southeast Asian language.
In response to a wave of national... In response to a wave of national...
Are we interrupting you, by the way, Jess?
Wait, does Korean count at all? No,
you guys aren't leaving until we're done. We're gonna be here forever. I will hold you hostage. In response to a wave of nationalist sentiment erupted on Cambodian social media with widespread calls to boycott all Thai products as a form of retaliation. Thai security officials expressed concern over the safety of local communities along the border, especially those engaged in cross-border trade. As a result of the incident, an emergency meeting was called to announce the closure of all border checkpoints along the Thai-Cambodian border, which included these places. So, that's what's going on.
That sucks.
Yeah, so it looks like there's a little bit of tension going on and a little bit of, I mean, boycott's gonna boycott, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's true.
Next up, we have 17 EU countries sound the alarm over Hungarian LGBTQ laws. Hungarian's parliament passed legislation in March that creates a legal basis to ban pride marches and lets police use facial recognition cameras to identify people who attend. 17 European Union countries accused Hungary on Tuesday of contravening fundamental EU values by passing laws that target LGBTQ people as tensions deepen between Budapest and a majority of member states. Hungary's parliament passed legislation in March that creates a legal basis to ban pride marches there and lets police use facial recognition cameras to identify people who attend. It also approved constitutional changes in April stipulating that Hungary recognizes only two sexes, male and female. Quote, we are highly alarmed by these developments, which run contrary to the fundamental values of human dignity, freedom, equality, and respect for human rights, the governments of the 17 countries said in a joint statement. I would like to point out, since Macron was talking about hypocrisy earlier, is there a reason why we're not calling America out on this?
Yeah.
Well, Hungary has been basically a authoritarian dictatorship progressing for some time. It's too bad they can't be kicked out of EU and join their sycophants in Belarus.
Yeah, the statement was backed by Austria, Belgium, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Portugal, Slovenia, Spain, and Sweden. Go ahead, Dapper.
So there's a couple things. One is the reason that this is probably not being done so much in the United States is primarily that, well, the United States isn't in the European Union, right?
Yes.
Like, if like, I don't know, like Colorado started doing some like ridiculous shit, I wouldn't expect France or Belgium to really talk about it that much, but I might expect that maybe the governors of like California and like Oregon or something might speak out. But the other thing is, this is one of the things, right? So the European Union was basically established under the idea that the members were going to be and remain liberal democracies,
right,
for the most part, generally. But what happens when one of those liberal democracies starts turning into a right-wing dictatorship? And the answer is that no one knows, but it's happening anyway.
That's what we're navigating now.
So,
yeah.
Right, we're navigating it now in more than one place. But with the EU, it's a particularly complex thing because
Germany,
there isn't a great mechanism to just kick them out.
Right.
And I suppose they could vote themselves out, but why would they do that? They're getting, like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to place trade embargoes? Well, you basically can't, right? Because the whole point of the EU is that you basically can't do that.
Right.
Are you going to restrict them from traveling? Again, you can't. So what do you do? And I don't know that there's a good answer for that. And I think it might be something that the EU needs to look at as for terms of like fundamental reforms as to what member states of the EU are allowed to do vis-a-vis other ones. And I don't know how you do that without, say, ruining the whole idea of a free travel and free trade zone.
Yeah, I feel like you would have to do something along the lines of you would have to be a democracy, but then you'd have to like walk this line of defining a democracy and having some kind of legal process of being like, are you a democracy? Yes, no. There is something to be said about maybe fundamental human rights that you could utilize to help with that, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. It's complicated.
Yeah. Unfortunately, one of the other things is people don't all agree on what counts as fundamental human rights, right? Like, there's a reason that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from the EU has not been signed by every country, and that there are a number of countries that have their own alternative list of fundamental human rights. Like, that's a thing that's true about the world, right? We don't all agree on what the fundamental human rights are.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is a case where most of Europe has one set of ideas about what fundamental human rights are, but Orban has a very different list of what fundamental human rights are.
Right. It's interesting.
Yeah, his drug rights are basically the rights of Hungarians to make more Hungarian babies and to have non-Hungarians not make babies in Hungary.
When you have a fascist right-wing extremist, human rights don't really mean anything. It's just whatever they want you to do at the time, and it's arbitrary. Diego Maradona's homicide trial is declared invalid after judge filming scandal. So for anybody who follows FIFA, the homicide trial of Diego's medical team for alleged malpractice was declared a mistrial by an Argentinian court on Thursday. The decision follows the removal of one of the 3 judges overseeing the case by an Argentine court. One of the trial's defendants had requested the disqualification of a judge, Julieta, last name, due to a possible lack of impartiality for allegedly authorizing the filming of a documentary during court hearings. They accepted the court. Yeah, the judge accepted the court's disqualification, but defended her conduct. Quote, "My impartiality is not at stake. There is no suspicion of a lack of neutrality because there is nothing that could imply that," end quote, they said, on Tuesday prior to being removed. The ousted judge...
My guess is that someone with the name Julieta probably uses feminine pronouns.
Maybe, but I don't know. The ousted judge is accused of authorizing a camera crew to film the hearings, which breached judicial rules. She claims she only gave an interview and has denied any wrongdoing. A fresh trial will be held with a new panel of judges, but it remains unclear when the new trial will be. So for anybody who's been following this story, I mean, I think that's interesting.
Well, mistrials always suck, and they're almost always good for the defense. The reason that is because even though you can refile charges and start a new trial, basically, the longer away from whatever the alleged crime is the trial takes place, the better for the defense, because witnesses might withdraw their consent to testify or just die. Like, physical evidence will degrade. People will start to forget what happened. I don't know what Landon just said. But yeah, so generally speaking, mistrials are usually better for the defense than they are for the prosecution. Mm-hmm. So if you are like team defense on this one, you should probably take this as a W. And if you are on team prosecution for this one, this is probably a disappointment. But then again, just because it's usually better for the defense, it doesn't mean that you can't secure a conviction after a mistrial has been declared and you start it over again.
And a restart, or I should say, it is usually because the entities can either dissuade people from testifying or threaten them to not be so aggressive in their testimony.
There you go.
All right. So moving on. Ban on child marriage is deemed un-Islamic by Pakistan's religious leaders. A new law banning child marriage in Pakistan has been criticized by a prominent council for being un-Islamic. Pakistan's government last week passed the Child Marriage Restraint Bill, which aims to put an end to minors being forced into marriages and cohabitation with adults. The legislation is set to be signed into effect by President Asif Ali Zardari. Will see adults found to be cohabitating with minors punished by up to 7 years in a prison and a fine of 1 million rupees, or 2,663 pounds, on charges of statutory rape. It is set to roll out in Pakistan, in the Pakistani capital of Islamabad. I don't know if I'm pronouncing anything correctly. With hopes that other parts of the country will introduce the law in short order. But Pakistan's Council of Islamic Ideology, a prominent body that advises the government of the Muslim majority nation, quote, whether or not a certain law is repugnant to Islam, has opposed the bill. The council said in a statement published Tuesday, quote, declaring marriage below the age of 18 as child abuse and prescribing punishments for it and other controversial provisions are not in line with Islamic injunctions. So if you are somebody, for example, who is an activist online who does talk about these things, you may want to take a look at the Council of Islamic Ideology admitting that it is part of Islamic provisions to allow this.
Is it possible that they're referring to a historical situation of a certain somebody marrying somebody young?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what it is. This is directly taken out of Sahih al-Bukhari, which is one of the, by Sunni Muslims, considered to be one of the more authoritative of the hadith collections. Hadiths are sayings about the life and sayings of the Prophet Muhammad. And so this one, so there's a couple of different reference systems used for Sahih al-Bukhari. One is just it orders the hadith just one after the other. The other one has like books, then followed by numbering the hadiths in them. So in the first one, this is 5158. In the second system, this is book 67, hadith 93. And then there's also a third one if you want, which is volume 7, book 62, hadith 88. Unfortunately, there isn't a unified reference system like there is for, say, like the Bible. But anyway, the actual hadith reads in English, the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with Aisha while she was 6 years old and consummated his marriage with her while she was 9 years old, and she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. until his death. That is why the Quran calls Muhammad, in one of the few places where it ever actually talks about Muhammad, because it almost never does, but in one of the few places where it does, it says that he is a standard of behavior for the faithful. Which means if you are someone who is going to be very literal about the Quran and theologically conservative in Islam, if Muhammad did it, then it's not just good, it's probably praiseworthy. And Muhammad raped a 9-year-old. And no, I'm not going to sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
I've had people get angry with me about saying, well, he married and consummated. No, that's rape. I don't care what contracts there were. She was 9. If you're a 50-something-year-old man and you have sex with a 9-year-old, you raped a 9-year-old. That's why this is happening.
So I do want to point out, it is clear, though, that the Pakistan has put in a law that is banning that. Like, their law that they're putting forward is getting rid of that. They are trying to move forward, but the specific...
It's the council that's objecting.
Yeah, the Islamic Ideology Council is the one getting in the way.
And as far as I know, they don't actually have any legal authority. They are just an advisory council.
Yes.
So
they may very well be.
They're saying this isn't okay. Yeah, is now the other thing is though that what they say will have an effect on the behaviors of individual Pakistanis.
Yes. I'm just gonna go ahead and show on screen. This is the council. This is them working on it. So I just thought I'd make sure that you guys knew what a bunch of these pedophiles look like.
Yeah, and remember how many women
or pedophile apologists.
I don't actually make a strong distinction there.
They're certainly allowing it or encouraging it.
It's one of those things like, okay, if you didn't pull the trigger, but you gave aid and comfort to the murderer,
Yeah.
you're guilty of something pretty bad. Technically, it might not be the murder, but like,
Yeah.
So
If you're a
I'm not
Nazi
gonna
and you
pull
happen
too many
to put
punches on
people
that.
in an oven, you're still a Nazi.
Yeah.
I will say that from my perspective, this is a very good step from Pakistan, to try and, come out of this place where religion has dictated a lot of stuff in Pakistan, right? This is a good effort to come out of that and really, really make people realize that, the religion shouldn't dictate your life. You should be able to, do what
Yeah.
you want in your life,
Okay.
which is commendable.
Consider
Now,
to
there will
become
be
religious free, right? Because religion is the perpetrators of some of the worst things in history. Try not engaging religion.
the
You might
thing
find
is
it to
that
be pretty nice.
Yeah, the thing is that religious ideology, the religion is part of like Pakistan's constitution. So that's why these councils have a lot of influence in
Mhm.
what goes in the law or what stays in the law. Now it's up to the Pakistani people whether they want this to stay as a law or they will defy it, because there will be defiance. It happens in India also. Child marriages happen in India also, still happen. They are punishable, obviously, under law. Under law, they're criminal. But the main thing is that the Constitution of India has accepted it. The governments have accepted it. The local governments have accepted it. The state governments have accepted it and said, this is wrong. This is criminal, right? So that's what now the challenge is. How will the local governments or the local councils that do the governance, were elected by people, are going to do this? Are they going to accept it and criminalize it, or are they going to let under the table stuff happen? So that's
Right.
very
I
important. It
think
will
the
take
answer is
some
both.
time and a lot of conviction to make this, really, really drive home. But it's a commendable step, and I get it why that council is vehemently pushing it back, because they see control going out of their hands
Yeah.
and back into the people's
Well,
hands, and obviously they are a bunch of
excellent point.
morons who would never want that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And Dapper, do you want to
Also,
talk more about your you see both? Can you elaborate that? Elaborate that a little bit
I
more.
think so. Obviously, there are people in Pakistan who do not accept that raping children under the guise of marriage is acceptable, right? Otherwise, this would never have passed, right? Because no one would have elected
Right.
the type of people who would pass that kind of legislation. However, obviously, there are also people who don't. And so I think that for a very long time, if this law stays on the books, which I don't know if it will, but if it does, for a very long time, you are going to have people who are defying it in secret. Just like, hey, did you know that in Libya slavery is outlawed despite having open air slave markets that are public? That's just a thing, right? It's not okay, it's not good, but that's how it works. And the same thing happens all over the place for all sorts of laws, right? Like, how long has it been illegal in most of the West to say consume cocaine for recreational purposes without a prescription? For decades.
Right.
Probably close to a century at this point. I'm sorry, do you think people aren't doing cocaine?
Right.
They absolutely are. So yeah, it's
Oh.
going to be a bit of both.
Yeah. Okay, so one other piece of news for Pakistan is the World Bank is investing $40 billion. According to the documents, the Ministry of Economic Affairs has begun developing a comprehensive implementation framework to support the initiative, which aligns with the government's priorities and the National Economic Transformation Plan. For the first time, the World Bank has adopted a 10-year framework instead of its usual 5-year strategy, signaling a long-term commitment to Pakistan's development. So I, for one, think this is a good thing, particularly if we want to get Pakistan away from Russia. Because if Pakistan
I don't
is
think it's a good thing.
relying on Russia, because Russia is the only one supporting them, giving them more options might be in their best interest. The first phase, Pakistan will receive $20 billion in sovereign loans from the World Bank's International Development Association, the IDA, and International Bank of Reconstruction and Development. These funds will be allocated to 2 critical sectors, including education, health, climate mitigation, clean energy, and air quality improvement. Additionally, the framework includes plans to boost private sector investment and sustainable development projects. Go ahead, Maanyaa.
So my question is, number one, how are they going to ensure that this money doesn't go into funneling the military, which in turn might funnel terrorism acts in other countries. For example, their neighbors, India. That's my question. Number two, previously, a lot of funds have been allocated to Pakistan. Where have they merged as? Have we seen any emergence or any results of those investments, right? So my thing is like, that's a big amount to invest in a country which has a track record of somehow losing that money and that money ending up in funneling terrorism. So that's what my question is. How are they going to ensure that? Because
that's a fair.
Yeah. I would also ask, how do you differentiate between the Pakistan military and the government and the power behind the government?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
you can't. They're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Yes. So
we do know that things like humanitarian aid and aid projects do tend to lead to more independence and kind of starve off China and Russia influencing countries. But if that country already has war and terrorism that it wants to do, then yeah, you absolutely need to ensure that those what promises, what assurances are you getting to make sure.
How many times in the past has America invested in Pakistan?
I don't know.
Pakistan and Pakistan has still ended up with China and Russia to ask for their money and for their assistance and to aid.
Yeah.
Right?
Because Pakistan pretended to be anti-Russian, anti-communist. They pretended that way, and they duped America into supporting them.
They had
said,
Osama bin
India
Laden
is pro blah blah blah. Yeah.
But
remember,
Osama bin Laden.
The guy named Khan was the guy that sold the secrets to Libya, nuclear secrets to Libya, to North Korea, to Iran, and to Iraq, right?
Exactly.
He is a person. He is praised amongst Pakistan leaders as a national hero, even though he's under quote house arrest. And he is probably the person you can and unfortunately in the future lay millions of deaths to, because it's very likely that the next nuclear exchange will be a direct result of Khan from Pakistan. And Pakistan treats them as a national hero.
Next up, we've got congratulations to Greece, which now has a lower unemployment rate than Sweden, Estonia, Finland, and Spain. Some good news.
Wow.
Labor and National Security Minister on Friday said that Greece has a lower unemployment rate than Sweden, Estonia, Finland, Spain, following the new reduction of employment to 8.3% in April of 2025.
But be careful of.
Oh yeah, why can't we have good
news? Because Russia claims a low unemployment rate. The reason why is that most of their people are employed either on the front lines being killed or being involved in the military machine. And so they can't have enough people to actually fund their normal societal sets. So you need to look at the larger numbers than simply Greece has fewer people employed.
Labor and
they
Social
have
Security.
The jobs to manage
let's look then. Quote, our collective efforts are yielding results. We are actively continuing policies that boost employment, reduce unemployment, and encourage the return of Greeks from abroad. Our next initiative is tomorrow, Saturday, a career day with over 1,000 job opportunities offered in Greece. So looks like they are in fact increasing job opportunities, and that's what's justifying their number. Specifically in a post on social media, noted a further significant drop in unemployment from 10.8% in April of 2024 to 8.3% in April of 2025. According to the Hellenic Statistical Authority, or the ELSTAT. So if you want to go ahead and pull that up and look at the stats and let us know, go for it. But Hong Kong pro-democracy and gay rights activist Jimmy Sham released after 4 years in prison. Hooray! Hong Kong prominent pro-democracy and LGBTQ plus activist Jimmy Sham was released from prison on Friday after serving over 4 years in the city's biggest national security case under Beijing's imposed law. Sham's activism made headlines during the 2019 anti-government protests when he was the convener of a now disbanded pro-democracy group that organized some of the biggest peaceful peaceful marches that year, including one that drew an estimated 2 million people. He was among 47 activists arrested in 2001 for their roles in an unofficial party election. He was sentenced to with 44 other activists last year after judges ruled that their plans to effect change through the primary would have undermined the government's authority and create constitutional crisis. Only 2 of the original defendants were acquitted. Even behind bars, he continued to fight for recognition of his same-sex marriage, registered overseas at the city's top court, which later ruled that the government should provide a framework for recognizing same-sex partners. So that's movement. It was a landmark decision for the city's LGBTQ plus community. So that is actually Hong Kong having a court rule that the government should provide a framework for recognizing same-sex partnership. That is an incredible piece of legislation and movement from Hong Kong. I'm wondering if China trying to take advantage of America's situation and trying to sort of take America's place and fill that vacuum is going to force Hong Kong and parts of China to be more progressive. Or at least appear to be more progressive.
I would say as long as the action does not undermine the dictatorial authority of the Chinese Communist Party and undermine civil control, they'll allow it to happen.
Yeah. I mean, China changing from being communist is going and making major changes is going to take a lot of time. Being influenced by wanting to get along with the rest of the world, even if it is for gaining more power globally, giving up some of the stranglehold that it has on its people is maybe a reasonable trade-off for them.
Maybe. I hope so. But I think that before that happens, it's just going to get worse in Hong Kong.
But things always get worse before they get better in those kinds of cases. Brazil. We got 2 things for Brazil. Brazil's economy, early 2025, surge boosts full year forecast. So Brazil, GDP grows 1.4% from quarter one from quarter four, as expected. Growth inflation robust despite interest rate hikes, and economists are starting to raise the 2025 growth forecasts. So it looks like Brazil got a little bit of a boom, and it's I would be cautious about this only because of what America is doing. That boom might not continue that path, but might be a little bit spiky.
Unless
but
they adjust their
what's
their
the news agency that's reporting this?
Reuters.
Oh, right, Reuters. I forgot.
As well as Brazil declared free of foot and mouth disease without vaccinations.
Oh wow!
Congratulations! A world organization. The World Organization of Animal Health has recognized Brazil, the world's largest leading beef exporter, as a country free of foot and mouth disease without vaccination. A Brazilian official and a spokesperson for the intergovernmental body said. Brazilian lobbyists representing some of the largest Brazilian meat packers, including JBS, Minerva, and Marfrig, said the development was historic as it can help Brazil win new markets. Quote, the new status definitely will be announced on June 6th as at a formal ceremony after meeting with the president and WOAH Director General. Brazil's chief veterinary officer told Reuters on the last day of the WOAH conference in Paris. Congratulations.
So just to be clear, there's Reuters, the people that screw people, and there's Reuters, the news agency.
Yeah. Congratulations to Brazil.
This is really good news, and this will definitely open up more markets for them where they can export their meat if they're able to maintain this. So that means their border standards for incoming flights, like incoming people and what they bring on their flights, should also go up. The standards, like what kind of meat you bring in and all those checks and stuff, if they want to maintain this. So best of luck to Brazil for that. Yeah, nice.
Argentina launching new alternative to who? The top.
Oh yeah, right. Definitely, of course.
What?
Of course. That's like the US and Argentina. Of course they are.
World Health Organization, is that being promoted by the guy with the brain worm in his brain?
Brain
in his brain?
The top health.
He's anti-promoting it.
Top health authorities. The top health authorities of the United States and Argentina are launching what they call an alternative international health system, separate from the World Health Organization. On the first day of his second term, President Trump signed an executive order starting a year-long process of withdrawing the United States from WHO. In February, Argentinian president followed suit. In a joint statement on Tuesday, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s brainworm, and Argentinian Minister of Health Mario, who definitely doesn't have a brainworm, remarked on the decision to withdraw from the Global Health Authority. Quote, the WHO's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic revealed serious structural and operational shortcomings that undermined global trust and highlighted the urgent need for independent, science-based leadership in global health, their statement read. Yeah, that sounds like something Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would say. Quote, there are well-documented concerns regarding the early management of the pandemic and the risks associated with certain types of research. Rather than ensuring timely transparency, the WHO failed to provide critical access to information, impairing countries' ability to act swiftly and effectively with devastating global consequences. I would like to let you know, if you look at this and are watching this in the future, I will note that there is likely a information about COVID now tagged at the bottom of this video.
Well, that's all right. We said rape too many times, so this video is probably going to get taken down.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
Wow.
I'm already getting attacked by this.
Now.
Well,
my other
Mr.
channel's already getting
Brainworm
boned
and
over
Mr.
by some other...
Chainsaw are your authorities to go and do
Yahoo!
your alternative science. Wow.
Yahoo! Lebanese PM says days of spreading the Iranian Revolution are over. Lebanese Prime Minister asserted that his government would not be cooperating.
Are you gonna try?
No, I am not even gonna try. You can't make me, all right?
It's not even a hard one. It's Nawaf Salam. It's easy.
Nawaf Salam asserted that his
go.
government would not be... I can usually copy it if somebody says it out loud first. Asserted that his government would not be cooperating closely with Iran in a Monday interview with Sky News Arabia. Quote, the days of spreading the Iranian Revolution are over. We will not remain silent about weapons in Lebanon that are outside the control of the government. He also said that Lebanon would only consider peace with Israel if it was, quote, real peace. Quote, we are a peace-seeking nation, but we want real peace. Israel is occupying territories that belong to our country.
In case anyone's wondering, that's called the Golan Heights.
Yeah. Smoke arises from Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon, as it is seen from the Israeli side of the border on May 25th, 2025. So it looks like Lebanon is pretty done. And I don't
blame
yeah, I mean, yeah, fair. But it seems like Israel is really just making enemies of everybody at this point.
Except the United States.
Except the United States.